Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we take a look at Water 3.0. There are many AIOs on the market at the moment, and Thermaltake have produced some very good offerings. Their latest is the Water 3.0 ARGB all-in-one cooling solution. Coming in 240 or 360 sizes, we have the 240 here today, and before we dive into the details and specs of the system, let's first get it out of the box. The box itself is very typical of Thermaltake's original RGB products branding with a black backdrop and the AIO in the centre, product naming and support to the right, and at the rear you get a pretty detailed feature set including images, performance graphs and lighting modes. Inside is a very neatly packed cardboard tray that has a space for everything and everything in its space. In this you get the AIO wrapped itself in a loose cellophane bag, a bag of assorted fixings, screws and mounting plates, another bag with cables and a controller in it, 2 ARGB fans, a user manual and last but not least, the warranty card. In the bag of fittings and mounts you get a bag containing 8 long and 8 short fan and radiator mounting screws with washers, a bag containing a retaining clip and nut for AM4 sockets, a bag containing mounting fixings and screws for Intel sockets, a 3-to-1 PWM fan splitter, 2 foam anti-vibration pads, AMD fixing loop, Intel fixing loop, securing loop nut, Intel base plate, RGB fan controller cable with fan connectors and SATA power, 2 motherboard sync cables for connecting to the relevant motherboards to allow RGB sync with the system. The fans used on the Water 3.0 are Thermaltake's Pure 12 ARGB Sync radiator fans that feature compression blades with hydraulic bearings for a super silent and smooth operation. They are well built with the same rubber insulating feet to remove vibrations. The cables feature an RGB connector and pass-through and also a PWM fan port. The cables are wrapped in a braided sleeve for extra durability and aesthetics. Connecting these fans up to the controller is super easy, as you take this connector here on the controller and then place the fan connector in like this. This female connector allows you to add the second fan and even more if necessary, meaning you can control multiple fans with the same controller. We will take a look at the lighting modes shortly. Now let's move to the main part of the show, and that is the AIO itself. Removing the plastic wrapping, you are presented with a slim radiator, RGB pump CPU block combo and a black appearance throughout the system. The pump head itself is an attractive one, almost identical to the one seen on the FLOE AIO which we recently reviewed. With a large copper plate at the bottom held in place by numerous screws around the edge and of course the thermal paste pre-applied. The fittings are basic plastic fittings but plenty substantial with a decent amount of movement, and the tubing is reinforced with a dense rubber sleeving that gives it a decent level of rigidity and robustness. There are 2 cables on the pump, one being the RGB light pass-through cable and the other being the pump header. The whole unit itself is a relatively basic setup that is both functional and also space-saving too. The radiator is very slim at just 27mm, meaning that even with the fans in place it will be very unobtrusive. The radiator utilises a lot of fins for maximum surface area, which in turn maximises the heat dissipation. The tanks at either end are very slim, making the whole unit only 270mm long. Build quality is good with a solid build and finish. Fixing the fans to the radiator is super simple and requires the use of a Phillips screwdriver and 8 of the longer screws seen here. Line the holes up on the radiator with the edges of the fans and simply screw into place and repeat for both fans. The fans when in place look fantastic, and yes, of course you can mount them to the rear of the radiator using these mounts here, and you can decide to choose whether you have your fans pushing or pulling the air through. Even with the fans in place, you still maintain that slimline appearance throughout. When it comes to mounting a pump, you need to set it up with the relevant fixing mounts. For Intel you need to take this mount here and place it over the pump block. Line the hooks up with the mounts on the side and then using the closing loop, you fix it into place to secure the entire mount into place. You then slot this whole unit into place with a rear mounting plate that sits underneath your motherboard. Align the screws relevant to the socket you're using, whether it be LGA 1150 all the way through to 2066. Insert the larger standoffs and then attach the entire block to these. When it comes to AMD, you have an AM4 mounting socket which is slightly different to the standard mounting procedure. You still take the mount in place and place it over to the pump, fix it into the brackets and secure with the same mounting loop. However, this time, rather than having 4 points to screw it into place, you simply have 1. You take this fixing hoop and feed it through this hole and secure it into place with this thumb screw. It is important to do this once in position on the board. Hook one end onto the base plate and the other one slots over to the other side. Screw it through the fixing and then you tighten it up and the pump will clamp down into place on the CPU, making maximum contact and also tightly securing it into place. Once you have done this, you simply connect the pump to the header you see here. Once mounted and fixed onto the board, it looks super clean and tidy. It actually fits in really nicely with this particular board's colour scheme. The compact design and tight fitting hoses mean that there are no obstructions or restrictions to any other part of the board either. Once you have connected all the cables together and set the controller in place with the fans in a pass-through, you can start to enjoy the lighting modes of a Water 3.0. Those ARGB Pure Sync fans look very nice in a frosted white, almost transparent finish, and look even more spectacular when lit up. On the controller you can cycle through 7 different modes, colours and speeds. You can connect up to 90 addressable LEDs to one controller, so the expandability options are impressive. We tested the performance of a Water 3.0 on our system running a Ryzen 2700X on an ASRock X470 Master SLI, 16GB of Team Group Dark DDR4 RAM and an AMD Radeon RX 480, and found some impressive results. When running at idle, the stock Wraith Prism CPU cooler from AMD came in at around 38 to 43 degrees, and the Water 3.0 came in at around 35 to 39 degrees, so an average of around 3 degrees lower at idle. When under load during rendering a 10-minute 4K video, it came in between 65 to 70 on the Wraith, and an impressive 62 to 65 on the Water 3.0. So whilst not mind-blowing differences, it certainly did offer a noticeable difference with a much more stable temperature consistency on an already hot chip. As you can see, the ARGB Pure Sync fans look absolutely stunning, with 9 addressable LEDs on the inner ring, distributing light through the fan blades themselves for an incredible effect. What's more is that you can connect the fans and pump to relevant motherboards from ASUS, ASRock, MSI and Gigabyte to sync it with their onboard RGB addressable software suites. This diverse range of synchronization options, easy to use inline controller, plentiful lighting modes, slimline design with impressive water cooling and performance combined with a sleek modern aesthetic allows us to give the Thermaltake Water 3.0 ARGB Sync Edition AIO one of our easiest gold awards to date with 4 stars. As always, if you would like to get your hands on your very own Water 3.0, then I will leave a link in the description below. Whilst you're there, don't forget to click like, share and subscribe for even more like this, and that's it from me for now, so goodbye and I'll see you in the next video.